has a key characteristic. It's got 1.4 billion people. The United States has 335 million people. China is therefore roughly 4 times the population. China is not going to remain below 1/4 of the U.S. size per person. Therefore, it's going to be a bigger economy. This is arithmetic. This is the logic of China's success. China's rise has helped the United States to advance. The U.S. has helped China to advance. This has been mutually beneficial.
Where do you think the Chinese economy is right now? Your assessment, please.
China is in a strong position. It's in a strong position because it is the low-cost producer of the cutting-edge technologies that the world most needs. It is the low-cost producer of AI. Not only DeepSeek, but especially DeepSeek. It is the low-cost producer of electric vehicles, BYD. It is the low-cost producer of 5.5G, Huawei, and others. It is highly innovative. It's producing the green and digital technology of the future, and the rest of the world is seeing this and wants to be part of it. It wants to be part of it both in supply chains, in other words, having production in China. It wants to be part of it in the Chinese market. It wants to be part of it as a trade partner with China in the developing world so that those countries can achieve rapid economic development. If you're in Africa, or if you're in ASEAN, or if you're in West Asia, you say, my ticket to fast growth is green and digital technologies. Where can I find that? Well, with partnership with China. So this puts China in a strong position. Ironically, Donald Trump is strengthening the Chinese economy because American protectionism is not being well received around the world. It's being received with hostility and anger in the Western Hemisphere, in Canada, in Mexico, in Latin America. It's being received with very great annoyance in Europe. It's being received with the great concern in Africa and in ASEAN, in Japan, in Korea. So countries are reassessing. If the United States is not a reliable partner, well, we need China as our reliable partner. So I think Donald Trump is actually a very self-defeating approach for the United States by being aggressive vis-a-vis the rest of the world. China says, we're here, we're open, we're cooperative, come partner with us, and the world's hearing that.
And talking about Donald Trump's tariffs and other restrictions and embargoes towards Chinese trade investment and technology, there's an interesting data I want to share with you. With China's semiconductor self-sufficiency rates projected to reach 70% by the year 2030. And of course, with the DeepSeek coming of age, and you use the word, defeating the purpose or self-defeating. How would you evaluate Donald Trump's policy so far vis-a-vis China, especially, of course, which is largely a continuation of Joe Biden's policy, which you called one of the worst, presidential policies towards China and its foreign partners?
In general, the idea of the United States that it would remain the lead country indisputably, or the unipolar country, by somehow containing China was nonsensical. But that was the approach adopted already back by Obama in 2015 and 2016. It was extended by Trump in his first term. It was then carried forward by Biden in his term. Now it is being carried forward once again by Trump in his second term. It doesn't make sense. If they would actually understand economics a little bit, they would understand that this is not going to work. It's not going to work geopolitically. The U.S. isn't going to isolate China. The U.S. might isolate itself the way that it's going, so it might create enemies all over the world of the United States because of this kind of aggressiveness that Trump is showing. And economically, it's not going to pull other parts of the world away from China. It probably will push other parts of the world towards China. It's just a mistake, in my opinion. But it's a mistake that I think is going to be with us for a while. Trump isn't going to change his mind because this is, first of all, a policy fairly widely subscribed to in the American political class. Second, Trump ideologically really is a protectionist, it seems. It's one of the few things that he's consistent on. It's a wrong policy in my approach, but he's consistently wrong on it, not intermittently wrong on it. So I don't think it's likely to reverse in the next few years. It's to the detriment of the United States, however. It is probably true, though nobody really can say for sure, that there are two different strands of Trump's thinking. One strand is about protectionism as an economic strategy. He seems to believe in that. I think that's likely to continue. At the same time, there is a kind of view of Trump that the U.S. is one of a few great powers and better that we don't go to war with each other. This is the positive side that Trump gives some inkling of, for example, in his dealings with Vladimir Putin and Russia. The U.S. deep state has been deeply anti-Russian, but Trump is not. Trump is more divide the world. Russia, you take your part, we'll take our part. Trump's aggression seems to be more manifested in the Western Hemisphere. Trump really would like Canada because he wants that Arctic coast and he wants Canada's resources. Of course, I think it's a crazy idea, but he seems serious about it. He wants Greenland, he wants Panama. So he doesn't care too much about Ukraine, which is fine because when America cared, quote, too much about Ukraine, it got Ukraine into a war. Maybe Trump won't care too much about Taiwan. That would be safe for Taiwan and good for U.S.-China relations. We don't know what the policy will be right now. My own advice is stop sending armaments to Taiwan. Maybe Trump would come around to that view the same way he came around to the view of not sending armaments to Ukraine. We don't know yet. Again, my own view is that the world is not a zero-sum world, so the whole idea of who's on top is the wrong approach to begin with. Open relations are a win-win proposition for the United States and for China, for Russia. I don't see any reason for conflict among the major powers. As a practical matter, the two things I would advise most simply are not to go protectionist, because this will harm the U.S. economy and U.S. society. It will isolate the U.S. from the rest of the world, not strengthen the U.S. And I would strongly suggest that the U.S. stop sending armaments to Taiwan, period, because I don't want Taiwan caught in a proxy war. I don't want politicians in some mistaken way to think, oh, the U.S. will protect us. I told the Ukrainians over and over again, do not think the U.S. will protect you. The U.S. will get you into a lot of trouble. And I would say the same thing to Taiwan politicians also. To keep Taiwan safe, deal with Beijing. Go to negotiation. Do not expect the U.S. to save you or to help you or to make you more secure. And sending armaments from the United States to Taiwan is simply a provocation. It's not a means to safety. It's a means that would raise danger for everybody involved. So that's what I'm hoping the United States would do. They don't listen to me all that often, but anyway, that's my advice.
You also said that during that European Parliament speech, China is not an enemy. China is just a success story. That is why it is the enemy of the United States, because it's a bigger economy than that of the United States. And
you know, China has a key characteristic. It's got 1.4 billion people. The United States has 335 million people. China is therefore roughly 4 times the population. China is not going to remain below 1/4 of the U.S. size per person. Therefore, it's going to be a bigger economy. This is arithmetic. This is the logic of China's success. So the United States has to get used to the fact that China has a bigger economy already, far bigger when measured at purchasing power prices, and it will be a bigger economy measured at market prices and exchange rates. That's because there are 1.4 billion people. In per capita terms, the United States is still ahead and will be for some time, in fact. China is not a threat. China is not a danger. The world is not a zero-sum struggle. Trade with the U.S. and China during the past 40 years, and especially since the 1990s, has been mutually beneficial. China's rise has helped the United States to advance. The U.S. has helped China to advance. This has been mutually beneficial. In trade, when certain sectors or places do get hurt by trade, and that happens, then they should be helped by regional policy or by redistributional policy, by social support. This is how a normal economy behaves. You don't stop the benefits of trade because some small parts of the economy suffer relative to others. You rather help those parts to make sure that the benefits are widely shared. I can say in a different context in China, when China opened up the economy, it was the eastern part of the country on the coastal areas that benefited the most. And the Chinese leaders said the Western China development is lagging behind the Eastern China development. So they created very creative ways to promote Western China development so that the benefits of development would also be shared in Central and Western China. That was a regional development policy that has been quite successful. The United States doesn't have such a policy. So if our industrial Midwest lagged behind, we don't have an industrial policy to say we need a Midwest development program. If we were as clever as China in its management of such issues, we would be much less protectionist. Trump is appealing to protectionism for particular parts of the American economy, neglecting the fact that the overall U.S. economy is a big beneficiary of U.S.-China open trade.